About a week and a half ago, I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Abraham Wyrasol, Service Organization Manager for Greensaver. Now, Greensaver delivers EnerGuide energy evaluations for homes, among other things, and they're doing so now under the Canada Greener Homes Grant, which was recently announced at the end of May. If you've done any research yet on the Greener Homes Grant, you'll know that the energy evaluation is an integral part of that process. And it makes sense because if we're going to be doing major retrofits to our house, we want to understand where we have lack of energy efficiency or where our building envelope isn't doing so well, where we can improve. And we certainly want to identify those areas before we look at electrifying our HVAC system to a heat pump. So I wanted to sit down with Abraham and ask him about that process so we can give consumers an idea of what to expect. So here's the video. Check it out. If you have any questions beyond this, just shoot us an email, hello@evolvethermalenergy.com, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
My name's Abraham Wyrasol, and I'm the Service Organization Manager at Greensaver. Greensaver is actually a not-for-profit, and we've been around for about 30 years now, almost 30 years, and we're one of the oldest not-for-profit in the energy conservation area. Our work mostly deal with low-income programs. So we work with Enbridge, we work with the IESO to deliver their low-income programs across all of Ontario. And we've been doing this work for the past 10 years, and it's great. The reason why I love doing my job is because we are making an impact, and the low-income programs, you not only do the energy assessments, we also provide weatherization, such as insulation and air sealing for free. So if that's something you're looking into, home winter roofing program or the energy affordability program, ISO is where you should be looking. And as a service organization, we deliver energy assessments for the Greener Home program.
And so Greener Homes, for whoever's checking out this video, if they've been searching up Greener Homes, and maybe that's how they found us, Greener Homes is a new initiative, right? This just launched recently?
Yes, it launched on May 27th, Thursday.
But this was something that was announced in the fall economic statement by the federal government. And I think at that time they made it, if you look into some of the documentation, it sounds like it's applicable all the way back to December of last year.
December 1st, 2020. So it is retroactive to December 1st, 2020. But the caveat there is you have to have your initial EnerGuide assessment done. That is before your retrofits begin. So if you do not have an initial assessment done and you've already started renovations between December 1st, 2020 till now, you will not be eligible because you don't have that baseline assessment performed before you started your renovations.
So would most people, so let's say before the program, would most people, when they're doing retrofits to their house, would they be doing an audit anyways? Or is it the program the program's kind of forcing people into that mindset of doing an audit first and then doing your work and then a follow-up, right?
Yeah, that's right. So personally, as an energy advisor, I always recommend for people, to consult an energy expert first or an expert first in the field before you start doing a renovation.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the times, well, I've seen this happen a few times actually. My friends, they do renovations on homes and they're tearing down the walls, they're redoing the kitchen, and then they put back the walls up without insulating the walls. And I'm like, that's a wasted opportunity. You're only gonna tear your walls down every 30, 40 years, maybe even like 100 years. Some people, they live in those 100 years old home and they've never torn up the walls, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really wasted opportunity. Like you just had a great opportunity to insulate your walls and make your home so much more comfortable, but you wasted it.
So is the energy audit process or the energy evaluation, what is that? If I'm a homeowner and this is before the Greener Homes program, why is it beneficial for me, I guess before or now, why is it beneficial for me to get an energy evaluation done before I do any kind of renovation work?
Yes, that's a great question. I would say why it's beneficial for you is because the energy advisor, their experience with homes and home construction. So a lot of the times when I go to a home, I can tell right away, like this is a double brick wall home. There's gonna be no insulation in the walls unless The homeowner has already done renovations, or previous homeowners have already done evaluations, right? And then the attic insulation is probably just 4 inches thick, and that's not enough. You need at least 16 to 17 inches thick, and that's the current building code.
Does that mean that, so does attic insulation, does that like settle over time, or was it put in at 4 inches and
It was put in at 4 inches. So 100 years ago, um, when energy is cheap, they don't really, well, when we build a home, we don't really think about for energy efficiency, because energy used to be very cheap. It's really easy to heat your home. Um, but what that means is your home is built without insulation, or with little to none insulation, right? So the building code back then didn't specify, okay, you need to insulate your walls, you need to insulate your attic up to this much, you need to insulate your basement. No, and as time goes by, if you're not doing any major renovations, you don't need to update your home to building code, right? That's not a requirement.
Mm-hmm. So when you go through the evaluation process, it's going to pull out and identify, okay, well, here's the areas where you can improve your energy efficiency, is to bring your building envelope, the building as a whole, up to current standards, essentially,
Or more,
or more.
right?
Yes.
Yes. So during the energy evaluation, we will take a look at your attic insulation. We'll look through your wall insulations. If you have 2 stories, we'll look through both. If you have additions, we'll look through those as well, to have a comprehensive picture of the building envelope of your home. And then we'll look through the basements as well, in terms of your wall insulation, your headers, as well as your mechanical equipment down in your basement, to see if it's if it's high efficiency, or if there's improvements to be had there as well. Lastly, during our evaluation, we'll do a blower door test. And what this means is we'll set up really cool looking um, fan setup on one of your doors. And what that does is we are blowing air out of your home, and we're measuring the amount of volume of air that we need to blow out of your house to get to negative 50 pascals, to depressurize your home to negative 50 pascals. And what that's equivalent to is about 33 kilometers per hour wind blowing on all sides of your home. And what that tells us as the energy advisor is it gives us a snapshot of, okay, how much air leakage is in your home compared to other homes. So the term that we use is air change per hour at 50 pascals. And typically the newer homes it's around 1.5 to 3 air change per hour at 50 pascals. But I've been to homes where it's 30 air changes per hour at 50 pascals. And these are the century-old homes with no updates whatsoever, right? And lots of additions. So every time you build an addition, there's more opportunities for air to come in through the joints.
Okay. So when you identify that, if you see a home like that is that leaky, where are the best spots to try and address that? Where's the best bang for the buck if somebody is going through this program and looking at where can I get the most efficiency out of this program?
In terms of air leakages, I would say typically it's the crawl space that is the most significant air leakage areas. Apart from that, there's also the exposed floors. So if you have a bedroom on top of a garage, typically there's where a lot of air leakage coming in through the floors. Yeah, typically it's insulated with fiberglass bats, and they're not the best air stoppers. Right. And also the garage is, yes, it's closed off from the environment, but it's still, you're not heating the garage, so cold air is still coming up through the floors, right?
Right.
As well, baseboards. I think baseboards is where the air leakages are coming in from.
In new home construction, I hear a lot about like a continuous insulation system, or like an exterior insulation system, continuous insulation, and even like I've heard more in high performance building about thermal bridges, like even the wood itself as a thermal bridge. So trying to avoid all that.
Yes, that's right. Continuous insulation is the way to go for sure. Yes, because you're providing air sealing and also continuous thermal barrier throughout the whole house. And exactly what you say, there's no thermal bridging associated with the continuous insulation.
Just out of curiosity, I recall from previous programs used to get a report. So the homeowner would get a report, and that would give them sort of ideas on where they can improve, and then it also give them like a meter. I think there was like a meter to give you an energy number for the house or a rating on the house compared to similar houses or
Yes,
something.
that's right. A sticker, we give a sticker.
Okay.
Um, and it does have a gigajoule rating on the house. So we give you three different reports. The first one is the homeowner information sheet, and this basically tells you your home as it is. So it runs down the components of your house, what kind of insulation is there, what your air leakage rate is in the home, etc. And then your consumption, not your consumption data, more like where is your biggest energy usage or energy loss, and where's your biggest heat loss areas. And then there's the renovation upgrade report, that's number two. And the renovation upgrade report, the energy advisor will provide to you a roadmap basically on how best to get your home to be the most efficient. So first they may say, okay, you should do your attic insulation. And this is also through consultation with the homeowner. The first one say attic insulation because that's the best bang for your buck. There's it's rather cheap, especially if you use like blown-in cellulose, which is recycled material. And it gives you quite a bit of energy savings, especially if you have very little to start with. And then two would be, say for example, wall insulation. So if your walls are not insulated, then insulating your walls will make a huge difference in your home. Three, maybe basement insulation or basement headers insulation. For air sealing, for example, air sealing again, it really helps a lot because think about it, right? We live in Canada. Outside, it gets to negative 20 degrees Celsius. And if there's 30 times of the volume of the air in your home changes every hour, you have to heat that negative 20 degrees Celsius home air to 22 degrees Celsius. That's a huge delta temperature. So sealing your home is really beneficial for energy savings, energy efficiency.
So is sealing mean? What do you mean by sealing?
Air sealing is really simple. Like the first thing I did when I came to my house, when I bought this home, was to seal the baseboards, seal the window frames with caulking, put in those what do you call it, outlets,
Yeah.
styrofoam in the outlets. That
Yep.
helps a little bit. Um, Weather stripping on the doors, very simple stuff. So those
Okay.
are simple ways to get air sealing. There's also professionals who can bring their lower door equipment, run the equipment, and then look for areas of leakages and then seal it right then and there. And that way you can also track the number of um, because for the greener homes program, your rebate is dependent on the target value and how much more you meet the target. So if you do 10% more than your target, you get more rebates. And then if you do 20% more better than your target, then you get $1,000 of rebates.
Oh, I didn't realize. So that's in specific to the air sealing portion of the Greener Homes program, or is
That's right.
okay. Is there a way on that report for the mechanical contractor, HVAC contractor, to tell what the heating requirement of the building is and what the cooling requirement of the building is?
That's a great question. I was actually just on a webinar with Natural Resource Canada on air source heat pump sizing,
Yeah.
and they developed a tool for it. But one of the questions that came up there was, can we use HOT 2000, which is the software that we use, as a sizing like a guideline,
Yeah.
or at least the heat loss calculation, right? Heat loss, heat gain calculation.
Yeah.
A lot of the people are saying that it's not CSA F280 compliant.
Okay.
So technically, no, but maybe what I'm thinking is it could be a good baseline to work work through it because I heard that the CSAF 280 um, calculation is pricey. It's super expensive for homeowners to get.
Well, yeah, you'd have to. I mean, I would think a lot of the contractors would include it in there because they have to size the equipment, right? So hopefully that's a part of their process. So if they come, I think if they're going to do an estimate for a homeowner, okay, here's your quote. If you accept the quote on the system, it should be included to do a proper heat loss, heat gain. And this is why I asked the question because, and maybe that's the way it was used in previous programs, was to give the contractor a baseline, because I can take that number, and I think we used to work off of the gigajoules. I can work off gigajoules backwards in my modeling software to figure out equipment sizing.
Right. Interesting.
But there's some, it's not, like they say, it's not specific an F280 or a ASHRAE manual J, so it's a little different. So I think there's some assumptions there. So the HVAC contractor should be, gets the job, does a full heat loss, heat gain to verify, and then moves forward, right?
Because if the customer is looking to do improvement in their building envelope, we can also look at it in the future sense.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because when we do the modeling, we can upgrade things as needed, right? Say if it's from R0 walls to R12 walls, that
Yeah,
strings
perfect.
down the heat loss calculations, right?
Yeah, and that's important on our end. I mean, specifically with geothermal, is that we need to understand those loads really well because if you don't, like balance is everything in a geothermal loop. I mean, 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, you might not see uh, changes. You might not see the impacts of improper assessment of the building's loads for 10, 20, 30 years, right? And that loop has to perform for indefinitely, right? So very important. So how long does a visit take? So you've got taken an assessment and then you're gonna set up this funky blower door.
The initial Energuide assessment takes about 3 hours,
Okay.
2.5 to 3 hours, and it costs with Greensaver it's $400 plus HST, and then the post retrofit assessment costs $200. It takes about an hour and a half, and that's uh, that makes up the $600 that NRCan will give you back when you complete one upgrade and complete the post retrofit assessment.
I think maybe Enercan's trying to get everybody into the mindset of, well, I think there's something like 15 million private residences in Canada, and they've all been built out over the last, whatever, 50, 100 years, right? So we have this whole different stock of buildings that essentially are going to need to be improved, updated, retrofitted, um, made more efficient, right?
Exactly. The goal is net zero for all existing buildings, existing single family homes by 2052, I think.
Oh wow.
And that's a lofty goal, but I think that we can definitely meet that goal. And the technology is already out there.
Yeah.
It's doable. Like we've already seen a few existing homes retrofitted net zero in Toronto, in Ontario. So it's doable. They're trying to get net zero new homes by 2030, which again, that's very much more doable as well.
What would be a top tip that you would have to give to consumers or homeowners that you would suggest that they could do in their home right now to help improve either energy efficiency or comfort in their home overall? Any suggestions?
Yeah, the biggest tip that I have, which I also implemented myself when I bought my home, is to just do some simple air sealing in home, right? Like caulking your baseboards that's facing the exterior. Good thing I'm living in a townhouse, so I'm in a row house, so both sides are other homes, and they're giving some heat, so I like that. But there's only two places, the front and the back, that I need to caulk and seal. Uh, Weather stripping in the doors. I would encourage everyone to poke your head up in the attic. Don't be afraid. There's no monsters there. Maybe once in a while you can find some raccoons or bats, which will be good if you poke your head in and know that there's a problem, so we can get somebody to get them out of there. Um, so definitely The way I see it, Jeff, is, and I've been telling this analogy to a lot of other people. I see a problem in the real estate industry. Um, People, homeowners or consumers, we're buying homes without knowing what the state of the home is. Like, I ask homeowners all the time, do you know what the insulation level in your home is? No idea. I'm like, what do you mean you have no idea? This is a home you're gonna live in for the next 10, 20 years. You just spent a million and some on this home. How can you not know whether or not this home is insulated? And it's almost like you're purchasing a pair of shorts from Amazon without knowing what the size is, what the material is. You just like, everybody's buying that thing there. I just want it, right? So it makes no sense.
That's interesting. So even would a home inspection give you that kind of information?
No. So home inspection will only look at the structure. Yes, they look at your attic and they'll tell you what the insulation level there is, right? But that's about it. They don't look through your walls and see what the insulation level there is. They don't look, well, I mean, the basement sometimes it's pretty obvious whether it's insulated or not.
Yeah. Okay. So Greensaver is headquartered in Toronto?
Yes,
GTA?
Etobicoke,
Okay.
but we have energy advisors all across Ontario, from Thunder Bay to Ottawa, Windsor, GTA.
Perfect. So I will post Greensaver's website on the bottom here, probably right now when I'm talking. There'll be a website, and that's how they can get in touch with you through the website and look
Yes,
at everything there.
or call our 1-800 number, 1-888-855-3106.
Perfect. Abraham, thanks very much for joining me on the call. I really appreciate you being here. And your information is down below. People that are looking for greener homes energy evaluations, just go to the website, go to the or use the phone, and you can find Greensaver.